This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below. Time for hot takes. Let's look at the hot takes for this week. The Browns most to lose. This comment just from Toast, who says, to be honest, I don't see much of a need to have Jack Conklin on the roster at the starter or starting level of salary. If we could restructure him into a backup role in DeJuan Jones, I think would make more sense. Guy has been off the field for half the time he's here. Yeah, if it worked like that, they would do that. The issue is that that's not how Jack Conklin's contract works. He has guaranteed money throughout this year, so he's going to be on the team for this year. There's no restructuring that. Why would Jack Conklin just freely give up money for no good reason? That makes no sense, and that's not something you would ask a player to do in good faith. So yeah, you're stuck with that contract for at least this year. Next year you get rid of it and you can save some money by doing it. It wouldn't be the whole value of the contract, but you could do some things for it. Remember, restructure is not like a magic trick. Like, you can't just restructure stuff to make the contract what you want it to be. There has to be the circumstances there to make it happen, and that doesn't exist for Jack Conklin. So that's the answer to that one. Adair Morgan says, no David Bell, you must have cut him already. And then somebody else came back around, and it was Be Nice, said Davy Bell has more to lose over Cedric Tillman. Newsome can be on the list. He'll be out for a while due to needing a procedure, which means more time for Cam Mitchell showcase himself. Yeah, see, the thing is, Newsome got his 5th-year extension. He doesn't have that much to lose. He's going to start this year. There's no world where the Browns start Cameron Mitchell over Greg Newsome. Now, will they give him an extension? I don't know, but like, Greg Newsome's going to go from getting an extension here to getting an extension somewhere else. Like, his NFL livelihood isn't in the balance. And this whole thing with David Bell, like, I don't think David Bell is in as bad as a situation as everybody else does. Like, he's going to be the 5th wide receiver on this team. I think that's clear. Maybe he gets some battle for that from Jamari Thrash, but I doubt it. I think David Bell, the reason I didn't put him on this list, because he doesn't have much to gain this offseason or much to lose. I think he's going to be the 5th wide receiver no matter what he does. The comments from, can Deshaun Watson escape his big day? Demand. Demond says, I respect you, Q, but that Chance the Rapper comparison is a violation. Would have comped him to Pooh Shiesty. Flashed out at the gate, but everybody is waiting for a comeback. Okay, one, the fact that so many people reacted this violently to me comparing Deshaun Watson to Chance the Rapper tells me that that is the proper comp for it, because if you feel that negatively about Chance the Rapper, that's kind of how people outside of Cleveland feel about Deshaun Watson, right? We can argue about whether it's justified or not. You could do the same thing with Chance the Rapper, but that's why I chose him. Like, I think that's just the reality of where people outside of Cleveland see Deshaun Watson. And I bet if you went in Chicago, people have a different view of Chance the Rapper. And also, when it comes to Pooh Shiesty, dog, I'm old. I don't know that much about Pooh Shiesty other than them 2 songs he had a couple of years ago. I know a lot more about Chance the Rapper than I do about no damn Pooh Shiesty. That's for sure. So yeah, that's why I went with him. If you want to go with Pooh Shiesty, feel free to go with Pooh Shiesty. I'm not about to sit here and tell you I be thinking about Pooh Shiesty at all when I be making up some of these comps. But Chance the Rapper did come to my mind because, you know, I'm old enough to remember Chance the Rapper. Apparently that's old now. All right. No more Nick Chubb disrespect. This is from my ranking video, put Nick Chubb number 5. Millard says, unless he has a late surge, he will be the best running back or one of the best players, not to get into the Hall of Fame. Sitting in the first half of his rookie year, splitting carries with Kareem Hunt for 4 seasons hurt his numbers. I'll say he is one of the most gifted runners I've ever seen. I don't think this is true. I think if Nick Chubb has 2 more good years, or if he has like a great year this year and another great year the year after, he'll be in the Hall of Fame. Look, he might not be a first ballot Hall of Famer, but he's definitely a second or third ballot guy. Now, if he has a couple of excellent years, if he wins a rushing title, then he gets put in the first ballot Hall of Fame territory. But if my bar for this is, if you think Derrick Henry and Christian McCaffrey are first ballot, then you definitely got to at least think Nick Chubb second. And I think that's how that one goes. So now I don't think he's going to be left out the Hall of Fame. And I don't really think him splitting carries hurt him for his Hall of Fame case, because the case for Nick Chubb isn't the overall numbers. This isn't an Emmitt Smith argument that you would ever make for Nick Chubb. The case for Nick Chubb is efficiency. So the fact that he didn't have to take that many carries helps his argument, because he can boast a 5.3 yards per carry average, and he might be able to boast that throughout the bulk of his career. So that's Nick Chubb's case for the Hall of Fame. So I don't even think him splitting carries really hurt his numbers, because there are other ways to make an argument for Hall of Fame other than cumulative stats. And I think the further and further along we get, the more and more those cumulative stats matter less and less, and the more we focus on averages and some of the other numbers that this player not accumulated but achieved throughout his career with consistency. The Browns guide for 2024 is when I had Jake Burns on. We did an hour. I thought it was a really good hour of football talk. Also did some time on Jake Burns' pod, so make sure you check that one out. Wyatt Teller made a passing comment in a recent presser that he felt like he was never good enough under Callahan. Sure, Teller needs to improve, but it also must be crushing to hear someone you respect mostly voice your flaws. I'm interested to know what a new voice would do. I don't know if I would extract that much from such a small clip. I think we got to be very careful. I think you're extracting an awfully lot from a pretty mundane comment on in a press conference, to be honest. For Wyatt Teller and Callahan, I think the argument Jake was attempting to make was Bill Callahan is somebody who can raise your floor, but there's not enough evidence that he's somebody who can maximize your ceiling. And the argument might be, hey, Andy Dickerson might not be a floor raiser that Callahan was, but he might be a ceiling reacher. I think there's something to that, but I don't think that has to do with like how Callahan treated Wyatt Teller or anything like that. I think that would be reaching as far as like what Wyatt was intending to say there versus what we're getting out of it. Irvin says all the talk about losing Callahan is overblown. I heard a player or coach say after a few seasons, a player stops listening to the coach. These players are smart. Coaches don't put on the pads. It's having correct players healthy, playing at a high level that will make a break season. Our offensive line will be fine. Okay, so this goes to the fundamental misunderstanding of what coaches actually do in the NFL. Because even this, which is taking a more player-friendly side of this argument, and what I mean is a lot of times we feel like the dynamic that exists in high school and college with coaches is the same dynamic that exists in the NFL. And the dynamic that exists in high school and college is mainly a dynamic that is educational, because you're still teaching the game. In the NFL, it's not as educational. There's still some educational aspects, right? You're still learning, but you're not being taught how to play football. But that's not the coach's purpose in the NFL. The coach's purpose is, yes, you want to have some technique stuff. There is some of that, especially with the offensive line, because even if you know how to play offensive line, there's specific techniques that you do with specific blocking styles or specific plans and protections that a coach might want to install over something else. So there's still some teaching, but it's very specific and tailored to what you're going to do. Also, it's more schematic. It's more about what those protections are going to look like, who gets what responsibility, who does what when it's man side versus free side versus zone side. All of this stuff is the stuff that the offensive line coach does. And yeah, you're right. The Browns do have veteran offensive linemen. So this is not going to be this massive thing for them. It's still something that will affect them. I don't think it's overblown. I would just say if somebody is acting as if Bill Callahan leaving is going to make the Browns offensive line crumble, that is a overreaction. But I don't think that is the general stance that a lot of people have taken. I think there's some people online who think that, but it's not a lot of people. So yeah, I just would say it's not as much about teaching in the NFL, and they do listen to their coaches after the first few years because it's not about just the fundamentals. It's not just what that coach is there. It's also a lot of schematic things and a lot of specific game plan week to week stuff. And honestly, it's more what they do than just like straight up teaching you how to play football. But that's it for Hot Takes. Y'all let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Peace.